Okay, so we're going to go over the homework from last night, and we had to do, sorry, hold on. Okay, 6 through 15, right? All right, so let's go ahead and begin, because I don't want this to run overly long because it takes forever to upload these things. So number 1, the shortest segment from point W here to this line XZ is going to be the perpendicular. So that is going to be line segment, and notice I just draw it like that, WY. Okay? All right, that is number 6. Number 7, for number 7, we have to write and solve an inequality for x. And I don't know if I have enough room here, but I probably do. So I know that this perpendicular is going to be the smallest route from W to XZ. So this line segment's got to be less than this 19. So I'm going to set it up as x plus 8 is less than 19. Okay? I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides in order to isolate my x. And that is a plus, sorry. And I'm going to get x is less than 11. Okay? And I think the rest of these I'm going to have to start working out on paper. I think I can do the proof here. So let's try number 8. Complete the 2-column proof below. I'm given that line AB is perpendicular to line BC. And I'm given that M1, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, they're supplementary and equal 180. And I have to prove that line BC is perpendicular to CD. So here are the statements and the reasons down here. Let's finish out this proof. Okay? The first one, for this one is given to us, so we know that this is a given. We're told that measure of angle 1 is added to the measure of angle 2 is 180. This is also going to be a given. Okay, for number 4, we're given that this is the converse of the same side of the interior angles theorem. If we're dealing with the converse of a theorem, that means that we're proving that lines are either parallel or are going to be parallel. So we are going to say that this means, and there are only 2 parallel lines here, so we're going to say that line AB is perpendicular to line CD. And there they are. And then finally, we can take all of this information, and therefore line BC is perpendicular to line CD because of the perpendicular transverse theorem. So just see what you're given and then apply on whatever side. If you're either given a statement, find out why and put the reason, or if they give you a reason, go back and find out what statement led them to the reason. So A is the given. B, we knew because of the converse that we were trying to prove lines parallel, and the only 2 lines that we could do were these. And then finally, we have proven we set out to do what we had to do by proving this line perpendicular, so we use the perpendicular transverse theorem. We look up the theorems and find the one that fits in this situation. All right, and that's the proof. I told you there weren't going to be many proofs, right? Okay, so for number 9, my son plays guitar, but I'm not super great with them. I do know that the frets, I think, are these lines here, I don't know, and these are the strings. So the frets on the guitar are all perpendicular to one of the strings. Explain why the frets must be parallel to each other. The first time I read this, I thought that I had to know something about guitars and why would they have to have these frets be parallel? But all we need to do is think about it mathematically. We're not trying to get into the, the engineering of a guitar. But frets are perpendicular to the strings, so the frets must be parallel, and this is one of the theorems for perpendicular lines. So there you go. That's all you got to put. Okay, so for number 10, this is again, we have to write and solve an inequality. We know that this is the shorter side, so we're going to say that x is less than 2x minus 5, okay? Because this is the shortest way to get from this point here. So we need to solve for x, and I'm going to do that by going and saying, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to be left with a negative 5. And x, positive 1x minus 2x leaves me with a negative x. Please remember the rule that when you divide by a negative, so we have to get rid of this negative, so we have to divide by negative 1 on both sides. And when we do that with an inequality, what happens to this sign? It flips, right? So we get that this is actually x is going to be greater than 5. Okay, so for number 11, once again, we are trying to find, and we know that 6x plus 5 is the perpendicular side, so it's going to be shorter than this hypotenuse here. So we're going to set it up as 6x plus 5 is less than 9x minus 3. All right. And so what we're going to do is we need to get all of the x's on one side, and we need to get all of the constants on the other. So I'm just going to go ahead and, I usually wouldn't do this, but I'm going to. I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides, because I don't really like dealing with negative numbers any more than anybody else. And I'm going to get negative 3x plus 5 is less than negative 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides and get negative, oh gosh, I'm going in this next problem, aren't I? Negative 3x is less than negative 8, because negative 3 and a negative 5 together make a total of negative 8. I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides, and when I do, I get x, but remember I'm dividing by a negative, so my sign is going to flip, and x is greater than 8/3. Okay, questions? I hope you don't have any there. Remember that rule. That's the only reason I didn't try to go on the other. Yes. So I wanted to make sure you remember the rule of when you divide by a negative, swapping that inequality. So that's why I did it that way. Ordinarily, I would have solved it a different way, gone the other side, so I would have stayed with positive integers. Okay, so that was number 11. So we're down to number 12. And I think, well, I might have enough room here. So for number 12, I have a 2x and I have 3y minus 2x. And I know that this side right here is 90 degrees, so same side interiors are supplementary. And if this is 90, that means this is 90. So I can solve for x, then plug in the information for x in here and solve for y, and then I'm done. So 2x is equal to 90. So when I divide by 2 on both sides, I get x is equal to 45 degrees. I then take this 45 and I say 3y minus, and 2 times 45 is 90, and that is going to be equal also to 90 degrees. The reason I know that is because this is going to form a linear pair, and if this is 90, then this angle is also congruent and 90 as well. It's one of the few, it's the only time when the supplementary angles will be the same angle measure. Okay, so now I just have to solve for y. So I'm going to add 90 to both sides, and I get 3y, and those cancel out, is equal to 180. I divide both sides by 3, and y is equal to 60. So for number 12, x is 45, and y should have, and that's a terrible x, 60 degrees. Okay. All right, 13. I have riddled this page with stuff, so I'm going to try to do it on a separate sheet, okay? All right, so 13 Okay, so I know that this angle is also going to be 90 because these form a linear pair. So for number 13, I'm going to say 6y is equal to 90 degrees. I'm going to solve for y by dividing both sides by 6, and I'm going to get that y is equal to 15 degrees. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in this y. I'm going to plug in this value of 15 for the y here, and then I'm going to solve. And these are so if this is 90, right, and this is 90, that means these same side interiors have also got to be 90. So this is also going to be equal to 90. So I'm going to put in 5x plus 4 times 15 is equal to 90 degrees. And I'm going to get 5x plus 60 is equal to 90. I'm going to subtract 60 from both sides. I'm going to end up with 5x equals 30 and divide both sides by 5 to get x is equal to 6 degrees. So these are the two for 13. Can you see that? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was off. If you need to pause, do it now. 14. Okay, so for 14, oh my goodness. All right, I'm given that 2x plus y, and I'm given that the linear pair of 10x minus 4y is there. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and set. I know that this is 90 degrees, so this makes a linear pair, and that is also going to be 90. So I'm going to go ahead and solve by saying that 2x plus y is equal to 90. And I'm going to go ahead and just solve for y, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And this becomes y is equal to 90 minus 2x. Okay, so now that I know what y is equal to, I can bring it down into this second equation, and I can now solve. So I'm going to go ahead and say that 10x minus 4 times, and then whatever this y is, I'm going to plug it in here. 90 minus 2x is equal to 90 degrees, because this and this are vertical angles, so that is also 90. Okay, so I'm going to say 10x, and I'm going to start solving this. Negative 4 times 90 is negative 360. Negative 4 times a negative 2x is a positive 8x, and that is equal to 90. I have a 10x and an 8x that I have like terms, so I'm going to combine, and I end up with this, like here. And then I'm going to add 360 to both sides, and I'm going to get 450. 18x is equal to 450. If I divide both sides by 18, I'm going to get that x is equal to 25. Once I have x, I've got most of this done, right? So now what I can do is I can go through, and I know that this is also 9. Oh gosh, you can't see. Okay, sorry. I know this is super long. Hang on. Okay, so I know that this is also, this is 90 as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in, okay, and I can do it either way, but I'm going to go ahead and solve for y using this x value of 25. So I may take the simpler of the two. So I'm going to go 2 times, and I'm going to use the 2x plus y. Okay, that one. It should be the same on either one. So 2 times 25 plus y is equal to 90. 2 times 25 is 50. 50 plus y equals 90. When I subtract 50 from both sides, I get y is equal to 40. And that is the answer. So x is 25, y is 40. And finally, the last one, 15. So let's look at 15 briefly, and then we'll see. We have to find x and y, and this is what we're given. We know that these two angles are supplementary, so they have to equal up to 180. And we also have a 2y over here that we know is this obtuse angle. But what I'm going to start with on this one is I am going to go ahead and start with x plus y plus x equaling 180, and I'm going to solve starting there. So I'm going to say that x plus y plus x equals 180, and I'm going to end up with 2x plus y equals 180. And so now I'm going to say y is going to be equal to 180 minus 2x. Okay, that's the first part. So there's my y, right? That's what my y is going to be equal to. So what I'm going to do is I am now going to take this and I'm going to say, okay, well, I know that if I have y equals 180 minus 2x, that I can say that 2 times 180 minus 2x is equal to x plus 180 minus 2x. And where did this come from? This right here is y. My angle right here was 2y, right? So I plugged in all this stuff here for y and did 2 times it right there. Then I took that this angle has to be congruent to this angle. So I took x plus y, and instead of the y there, I put x plus, and I filled in all this stuff for y, and I set them equal to each other. And now I just start to solve for x. So I'm going to get 360 minus 4x is equal to 180 minus 1x. So positive x and the negative 2x combine here, and I'm left with this positive 180. And so I get there. I'm going to go ahead and put the positive 4x on both sides. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides because I don't want to deal with many negative numbers. And so I get 360 is equal to 180 plus 3x. So subtract 180 from both sides, and I get 180 is equal to 3x. I divide by 3 on both sides, and now I know that x is equal to 60 degrees. Since I know that x is equal to 60 degrees, let's look at that. What did I do with your paper? Yeah, it's up here, sorry. Okay, since I know that x is equal to this, right, I can say 60 plus 60 plus y has to equal up to 180 right there. And so that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to say, okay, so I know that x is 60, and then I have 60 again plus y is equal to 180 degrees because these two angles are supplementary, right? So this plus this plus this is equal to 180. If this is 60 and this is 60, then I can solve for y, knowing that both of them equal up to 180. So I get 120 plus y is equal to 180. I'm going to subtract 120 from both sides, and get y is equal to 60 degrees. So x is equal to 60 and y is equal to 60 degrees. I got it left lower, y'all are about to come in. Bye.